Hey, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Maya. Please like and subscribe. And if you're not new, I'm so glad you came back. For today's practice, you will need some water, a yoga mat or a soft surface, and yourself. I'm sorry you're having back pain, but hopefully we can alleviate some of that. Today we will begin on your back. Bend your legs, plant your feet on the mat, and bring your hands to your tummy. Begin to take deep inhales and exhales, getting in tune with your breath and your body. Today, it is extremely important that you are listening to your body. And if at any point your body says no thank you, please listen to your body and do not take that stretch. Continue with your deep inhales and exhales. To help ensure that you don't injure yourself in today's practice, first we are going to start by building some heat and strength in your body. Float your hands onto the mat and lift up your hips, coming into a bridge pose. Make sure that your back body is fully engaged as well as your core. Your feet should be glued to the mat and pushing down. This is such a strong pose. You're doing great. One more breath. And release your hips down to the mat. You got it. Let's go again. Lift up your hips. Make sure that all four corners of your feet are pressing into the mat. Hold. You're doing so good. One more breath. Awesome job. Release down to the mat. Last time, best time. You got it. Hips come up, bridge pose. Hold. You're doing so good. Take 2 cycles of breath. Good job. Release your hips onto the mat. Bring your knees into your chest for a tight ball and rock side to side through your lower back. Lift your head off of the mat, tuck your chin into your chest, and try to get your forehead to touch your knees. You should be feeling a slight stretch through your whole back. Release your head down to the mat and begin to take big hip circles. So your knees should be drawing big circles on the ceiling. Go in the opposite direction. This should not only be an opening for your hips, but you should be feeling a slight massage through your lower back as well. Bring your legs back to center. Your arms can either be in a T or in a goalpost, and allow your legs to fall over to the right side of your mat as you glance over your left shoulder. Make sure that both of your shoulder blades are still glued to the mat, and if you cannot keep them glued to the mat, you have the option to bring either a pillow or a blanket underneath your knees. This will help to elevate your hip bones and bring the mat closer to you. Use your core to bring your knees back to center and allow them to fall over to the opposite side as you glance away from your knees. Check in one more time, making sure that both of your shoulder blades are glued to the mat, and if they're not, go ahead and use your blanket or your pillow here as well. Engage your core as you bring your legs back to center. Bend your knees and leave your legs at a 90-degree angle. Straighten out your arms and rest your palms on your knees. Make sure that your back is completely touching the mat, even the very bottom of your back. Keep your back glued to the floor as your left leg lowers. Hover your foot off the mat and hold. Bring your leg back up. Opposite leg goes down for a hover. You should be feeling an activation through your core right now. Shaking is good. Bring your legs back to center. Left leg goes down to hover. Hold here. Make sure that you're engaging your core. Don't let your tailbone lift up. Bring your leg back to center, and opposite leg goes down for a hover. More often than not, back pain actually stems from your core. So we're going to make sure that we activate your core. Bring your legs back to center, and now allow both of them to hover. Make sure that your tailbone is still glued down. Bring your legs back up and allow them to hover again. Shaking is good. Awesome core activation. Bring your knees into your chest and take a tight ball. You have the option to rock side to side through your lower back. We're going to take some rock and rolls, rock all the way up your spine and back down. Come up and back down. This is a great massage through your whole back. When you're ready, meet me in a box pose. Meeting me in your box pose, let's take some classic cat and cows. Inhale, chin tailbone up, cow pose, and exhale, round your spine, cat back. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat back. Continue your cat and cows following along with your breath. One more round of your cat and cows. Awesome job following along with your breath. Bring your spine back to a neutral position. Straighten out your left leg and rest your toes on the mat. Rock forward and backwards to take a stretch through your left leg. Rise your left leg up to be even with your hips. Hold here. Make sure that you're engaging your core and that your hips are squared off. Your right arm is going to lift up by your ear. Not only are we relieving your back pain today, but we are going to build strength in your back as well. Release your leg and your arm down to the mat. Right arm lifts up to the sky, opening up through your chest, and thread the needle. Big reach up. Thread the needle. Don't get comfortable. One more time. Reach up to the sky. Thread the needle, bringing your right ear down to the mat. Your left arm can either be around your lower back or it can rest over your ears, reaching towards the top of your mat. Check in with your hips. Don't let them get lazy. Make sure that your hips are squared off evenly. Your left hip is probably the hip that's higher, so try your best to lower your left hip to keep it in line with the other one. Bring your left arm down to the mat and unthread your needle, big opening through your chest. Come back to your box pose, and your right leg comes out. Bring your toes down and rock forward and backwards to stretch through your right leg. Lift up your right leg to be even with your hips. Left arm reaches out. Keep your hips even. Flex your foot. You're doing great. Release your leg and your arm back to your box pose. Left arm lifts up, opening up your chest. Thread the needle. Don't get comfortable. Big reach up. Thread the needle. Last time, reach up and thread your needle. Your left ear comes down to the mat. Your right arm does the same thing that your left arm did on the opposite side. It's extremely important that you're aware of your body. If your right hip is hiked up, go ahead and bring it down to get your hips to be even. Keep breathing. I hope you're enjoying the stretch as much as I am. Unwind your upper body. Your right palm pushes into the mat as your left arm reaches up to the ceiling. Float your arm down into a box pose and find a closed-legged child's pose. Walk your hands over to the right side of your mat and continue to breathe deeply into your back. Bring your hands back to center and walk them over to the left side of your mat. Continue your deep inhales and exhales. Your breath is your number one tool in life. Let's use it. Walk your hands back to center, push up into a box pose, and lower all the way down onto your stomach. Bring your elbows right underneath your shoulder blades, taking Sphinx pose. Pull your shoulders down and away from your ears. Continue to breathe. If Sphinx pose is a little too much for you today, you have the option to walk your hands forward and rest your forehead on the mat. If you want a little bit more from this stretch, go ahead and begin to slowly straighten out your arms. You can either stay here or come back down to your elbows. Stay where you are or follow along with me. Bend your elbows back into Sphinx pose, and on an inhale, straighten out your arms. As you exhale, bend your arms. Bring your hands back by your rib cage and push up into a closed-legged child's pose. Take 2 to 3 deep cycles of breath. Walk your hands back to your feet and grab your heels. Tuck your chin into your chest and rise your bottom up. This weird posture is a less intense version of plow pose. Hopefully you're feeling an opening through your whole back, and if you're not, continue to push your spine up into the sky, kind of like a cat back. Release your heels and meet me in a plank pose. This plank pose will help to neutralize your spine as we're also strengthening your core. Remember, if your back hurts, your core needs to be strengthened as well. One more cycle of breath. Release your knees down to the mat and find a child's pose. Bring your hands to your heels, tuck your chin into your chest, and rise up your bottom for that less intense version of a plow pose. I know in this pose it's hard to get in a full breath. Make sure that you're still breathing even if your breaths are shallow. Release your heels and come back down into a child's pose. Walk your hands to the front of your mat. Either take an upward facing dog or a Sphinx pose. Bend your elbows and rest your left ear on the mat. Box out your arms to be a goalpost. Bend your right leg and allow it to fall over to the opposite side of the mat, taking a twist. If your foot can't touch the ground, no worries, just go as far as you can. Remember to listen to your body. Unwind your legs. Right ear comes onto the mat. Bend your left leg and allow it to fall over, taking the opposite twist. Unwind your body. Bring your palms by your rib cage and push up to an upward facing dog. Tuck your toes and push back into a downward facing dog. Bend your knees as much as you can to get your tummy to rest on your quads and straighten your legs out. Bend your knees again as much as you can, glance forward, and straighten your legs. Rise up on your tippy toes and walk to the top of your mat. Box out your elbows and sway side to side for a ragdoll. Make sure that your legs are bent to support your back. Completely relax your spine and allow gravity to open you up one vertebrae at a time. Release your hands. Take a slow mountain pose, going as slow as you possibly can, coming up one vertebrae at a time. Your chin should be the last to lift. Bring your arms up overhead for a mountain pose. Dive over your lap, forward fold. Inhale on a halfway lift. Engage your core as you straighten your spine. Bend your knees as much as you can and come all the way down onto your back. Tuck your knees into your chest for a tight ball. Release your right leg out, still holding in your left knee. And begin to take ankle rotations in one direction. Go the opposite way. Allow your knee to fall over to the left side of your mat to open up through your hip. You can stay here or turn your head to glance in the opposite direction of your knee. Bring your head back to center as you pull your knee over your right hip for a twist. Glance over your left shoulder and continue to breathe. It's okay if your knee is floating. Just twist as far as your body can twist today. Take one more cycle of breath. On your next inhale, bring your knee to center and begin to take hip circles in one direction as if you're drawing a big circle on the ceiling with your knee. Draw circles in the opposite direction. Bring your knee back to center and switch. Your right knee should now be hugged into your chest. Begin to take ankle rotations in one direction. Reverse your circle opposite way. Open your hip to the right side of your mat and glance over your left shoulder. Inhale as you bring your knee back to center. As you exhale, take a twist as you glance in the opposite direction of your knee. As you lay here, I want to briefly talk about ahimsa. If you haven't heard of ahimsa, this means non-violence or non-harming in Sanskrit. The idea of ahimsa is to not harm any beings regardless of how big or how small. So for example, if there's a fly in your house, instead of swatting it, you would maybe try to capture the fly and put it outside. The same principles apply to yourself. Are you constantly beating yourself up with your words, or are you uplifting yourself? My challenge for you this week is to take notice of how you speak to yourself, and if it's negative, try to change it in a positive way. Counter every negative thought or feeling with a positive one. As you inhale, bring your knee back to center and begin to take hip circles going in one direction. Beautiful job. Opposite way, big circles. Bring both of your knees into your chest, tuck your chin in, and take a tight hug. Round your spine as much as you can. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze as tight as you can, and release. It's time for Shavasana, the best part of class. Going inward and finding stillness. Take Shavasana in whichever way is pleasing to you. Because today is for your back, I recommend bending your knees and resting the soles of your feet on the mat. Today, I chose to have my knees touch in the center. This is an option, or you can keep your knees stacked over your ankles, whichever feels best for you. You also have the option to have your legs out straight, and you can put your hands wherever you want. As always, it's completely up to you how you take Shavasana. I invite you to go inward and focus on your breathing. Notice how your body feels after this practice. Does your back feel better? If so, in what ways? Can you pinpoint exactly where feels better and why it might feel better? Maybe take this time to think back through the practice and notice things that you would want to practice on a daily basis, or maybe noticing things you didn't like so much. Just take this time to reflect on the practice and go inward. Let's recall and reflect on the word ahimsa. Remember the challenge I set for you this week? With every negative thought or words that you may feel or think about yourself, I want to challenge you to counter that with something positive, or maybe even two positive sayings. Ahimsa is here to not only remind us to be kind to others, but to be kind to yourself as well. Your words are very powerful. Each and every single one of us possesses this power to use our words for good or bad. I hope you choose to use your power for good. Not only will you be uplifting yourself, but with your words, you have the power to uplift others. How amazing is that, that you have the power to uplift yourself and others? Walk your feet apart to be further than mat width distance from one another. Let your knees fall over to the right side of the mat and bring your arms out to a T. Lift your knees back up and allow them to fall over to the left side. Begin to windshield wiper your knees, going side to side at your own pace. Extend your legs up to the sky As you bring your ankles right over your hips, begin to draw an infinity sign on the ceiling going in one direction. You can bring your arms out to a T for extra balance. Hopefully you're feeling a slight massage in your lower back. Reverse your infinity sign and go in the opposite direction. Tuck your knees into your chest and give yourself a well-deserved hug. Begin to rock up and down your spine, and when you're ready, find a comfortable seated position. As always, we'll end today's practice with a few breaths. Inhale, bring your arms overhead. Exhale your hands into heart center. Inhale, bringing your arms up overhead. Exhale your hands to heart center. Deep breaths. One more time. Inhale all this beautiful energy we've created today. Exhale your hands into heart center, bringing that energy with you throughout your day and your week. Thank you so much for being here. Namaste. If you liked today's video, please like and subscribe. And I hope that you decide to take this week's challenge to be kind to yourself and others. I wish I could give you guys a hug, but I can't. So instead, I'll just give you an invisible air hug. I'm so grateful for each and every single one of you. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you next time. Please comment down below any suggestions you have, anything you liked or disliked. I'll see you next time. Bye!